mestizos of Spanish and Indian blood, Maya Indians, Europeans, and a few Lebanese and Chinese. Afro-Hondurans comprise 60% of the population. Destined to serve as a geographical bridge between the Caribbean and Central America, British Honduras has an economy based on agriculture, forestry, and fishing. English and Spanish are widely spoken. The two major cities are Belize City, once the capital and still the major port, and Belmopan, the newly constructed capital. Much needs to be done to improve the economic and social situation in British Honduras. Our country, originally the home of British logwood cutters, has been undoubtedly one of the most neglected of Great Britain's colonial possessions. The British Honduras, change knocks at the door. Independence will come soon. When it does, our people, one of many races, will endeavor to make the most of our common birthright. The colonization process of British Honduras is at hand. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Here with me tonight are several of my countrymen. I am Dennis Young. To the front of me is, with me here tonight are some of my fellow countrymen, Mr. Rayford Wade, an active member of the British Honduran British community, Mr. Norman Fairweather, Secretary General of the Yobad Party of British Honduras, who has just arrived from British Honduras, Mr. Norman Fairweather, Mr. Compton Fairweather, Chairman of British Honduras Freedom Committee of New York, and Mike Lindo, an active member of the expatriate British Honduras community. We'd like to get into some questions, and I guess we're going to talk about, for instance, how many countrymen we have here, and why we left British Honduras, and what do you think? You've just been to British Honduras recently. And
well, a big part of the problem is we have a high rate of unemployment. People are forced to leave the country. When you have 38% unemployment, you have the greater portion of your population that's don't have any jobs. We have the younger generation where they graduate from high schools and then there's no jobs for them. So therefore we're forced to immigrate. We must leave, we must go abroad.
The issue comes down to the fact that we have more Afro-Hondurans leaving the country. You have a very strong situation where the Mayanization program, or there's a change in the population makeup going on down there. Why is it that more Afro-Hondurans seem to come to the United States than some of the other people? Our population have many people from many diverse racial makeup.
Well,
racial groupings.
We have estimated that there are more than 8,000 British Hondurans in the two major cities on the East Coast. Well, New York, the New York, New Jersey area, for example, we have about 8,000. Many of them are here for several reasons. Some came as students who, when they graduated and became qualified, chose not to go back. There are those who were sent for by relatives to get away from the economic pressures at home. And there are those who just here at the big city life and wish to participate in it.
Look, Rayford, I'm not cutting you off, Norman, but Rayford and Norman, we both went to school together, and like you were also like part of an organization that Norman Fair is now very active. I guess I stumbled over introducing him earlier, saying that, but Norman is what the Secretary General of a movement that you both were active in, and trying to keep young people in British Honduras. Well, do you think of that?
There are a number of reasons why people move away from home. One being is that the high rate of unemployment that Mike mentioned. Other problem is that those that come up to the States, they may come up originally to study and then plan to go back home. They don't want to go back home to conditions that, you know, like there's no sewer systems, the housing is inadequate. That they're prepared to live in America. Some live in the ghetto, but at least they have plumbing in their homes. It might not always work, but it's better than not having any at all at home.
What about rats and other things like that?
Well, there are rats and roaches at home too. But it's like at home, it's really bad that the sewer problem there, how we handle the sewer. In some of the slides, in one of the slides, there was a picture of open canal, and people have to dump the waste in the open canals. Like this points to in the Caribbean. In the Caribbean, BH has probably the highest birth rate, but it also has the highest infant mortality rate, not because of malnutrition, but because of just plain unsanitary conditions.
Another reason for people leaving British Honduras is that the government has no interest in education. There are a lot of kids who graduated from high school, and that's it for them if they don't leave the country. There's no jobs, no college, no way to go to college, and that's it, just walking the street.
Is this mainly the problems of the government, or I mentioned earlier, running through fast the business of the fact that Great Britain has done very little to develop the last colonial outpost there?
Well, I don't think that we should depend on Great Britain that much, even though we're still so much a colony. But we should try to help ourselves.
Do you think we should probably be attacking the local government there instead of as much as we attack Great Britain, or get at, addressing ourselves to Great Britain?
Well, I think they should be attacked. The local government should be attacked because they're so far removed from the people. Like, since they've been in government, they don't want to talk to people anymore, so to speak.
I mean, the situation can be easily understood when you check something like the budget. The budget for the country for 73 is like $30 million, and like half of it is made up in aids and loans from foreign governments. Then 49% of the budget is used to pay salaries and teachers' salaries, public officers' salaries. There's no money for development. The schools are getting overcrowded. Like you have like 75% of the youths. This is people between the age of 14 and 25 years of age, not in school and not having any jobs. So there's too much pressure is being caused. That their only ambition is to come to, say, go to a big city, New York, Chicago, or LA, and try and get lost there.
Well, historically, it has been a neglected country. The British have been there and still are there for over 300 years. Originally, the country became involved with the European powers when some shipwrecked Englishmen went ashore in the middle of the 17th century. And they started to cut at that time logwood, which was indeed very precious for the dyes which sold in Europe. And gradually the population was based on supplying timber, mahogany, and many others hard, precious woods. So traditionally the people were not agriculturally oriented. The country is about the size of Massachusetts, 8,867 square miles, and less than 1/4 of it is used. It's sparsely populated.
Compton, one of the things, one of the things I got the impression is that he said something about the education, no education opportunities. And then on the other hand, he said, but on the other hand, a lot of us, a lot of fellow countrymen residing in the slums and so on here, will always boast that they had such a great education from Great Britain.
Well, it has the highest literacy in the area, but it has no advantage for secondary education.
This is that literacy thing is really a joke. And we say that we have the highest literacy in the Caribbean, in the area, in Latin America, but still, the people are functionally illiterate. All that they call a literate person is somebody that can sign their name. They can't read. They can't pick up even the newspaper and read the newspaper.
Are they even that functional illiterates? That's one of the main issues I'm trying to get at. And when they're trying to compete, they get lost in the high school and urban school system in this country a lot of times.
Well, after high school, there's no chance for a good secondary education.
But even in the high schools, like the most you get is you get math and English. Just lately, they have started to teach science. Government complains about not being able to equip the schools with equipment for the teaching of science. So that what happens that all you have is like some third-class clerks coming out. They can only function in routine jobs like filling out forms or something like that. There's nothing that they can get into. They don't make any plans for the future. You ask any child at home what they want to be or what they plan to do once they get out of school, all they can tell you is, well, I'll go to the United States. That's all they hope for. Coming to America and relating to the ghetto, relating to modern conveniences in your house.
Yeah, one of the interesting, that being the case, you got the problem of, I guess one of the problems is, you think the Guatemala issue is one of the major problems why people have...
yes, well, you see, there is an international problem where we have been trying to get out of the throes of Guatemala's claim for some time. Now, recently, in 1967, the British television company, the Granada Television, in the World in Action series, made a half-an-hour film on showing the disparity between the Guatemalan life and that of British Honduras. In a minute, we'll show portions of this film, which starts out with the introduction of a radio program entreating the masses to wake up and work. And gradually it shows scenes of the life in one republic and then the British organized system. Anyone who's a student of the area will see that there's no similarity between the two countries whatever. I think now we can begin to see portions of this film.
And by God will kill anybody who tries to take it away from us.
A small country in a militant mood. Belize, British Honduras, Britain's last outpost on the American mainland. A country frightened of being gobbled up by its big neighbor, Guatemala.
The voice of the emerging nation of Belize in Central America. Radio Belize. We invite you, wake up and work together. We bid you, we exhort you, wake up and work together. Day by day we come together. We come together at the office of the factory in the cane field. Thus our homegrown personality becomes more clearly defined. We dwell together in this fair land, and the land and the things of the land around dominate us and stamp a common brand upon us as Belizeans. Once again, we bring you another in your Morning Moods program. We begin with romance.